As I heard you earlier on referring to um, uh, uh, um, this, well, being culturally pessimistic, techno-optimistic, and that cultural pessimism, I think, ties into, I wouldn't necessarily say just a general feeling, but something that I know one of your guests who came on to speak about Macbeth on the Canon Club, Nima Parvini, he's a Shakespeare scholar who's also written lots about cycles of history, and he wrote a book called The Prophets of Doom, where he brought out 11 historians and other various cultural commentators and literateurs from history that put their own theories forward as to why the West was facing into civilizational decline, and bringing out lots of examples of how that has happened to every civilization in the past. If we are moving through this declining period, this coming up to the end of whatever was Western civilization, and we're going into something new, people often say that as you go into something new, it is seeded from the old. If that's the case, what's worth saving from the past?
Oh, I mean, so much. I mean, I'm not a total doom monger. I don't think Western civilization is falling in any kind of immediate sense. We have reached a sort of level of takeoff where it would take an immense destruction to actually ruin it. Uh, I can. There are certain matrices and indices that do suggest that there is a sort of exhaustion, which is what Kenneth Clark talked about, and also a sort of level of, I suppose, cultural cringe or unwillingness to kind of continue the civilization in many ways. I mean, Paul was talking about, we're just about the sort of how Western civilization is kind of unusual in that it aspires to be global, and it succeeds in being global, just as Western medicine aims to be. So it really is something that is um, open to everyone. And even if the civilization does start to decline, the Western tradition is something that others will probably adopt. So, I mean, even if the West fell tomorrow, Beethoven would still be loved around the world, and Mozart would still be loved around the world. Um, and those things will continue. I think one thing we haven't mentioned so far is, or kind of alluded to, is the religious aspect of it, which is, there
Mhm.
is a feeling that, Western civilization is so linked to the Christian tradition in particular that when the knowledge and understanding of that tradition starts to decline, and becomes irrelevant to people, then the sort of fundamental civilization behind it will also start to collapse too. I mean, one of the things that made me think about this was when I heard someone explain how in their office, again, as Paul says, these were kind of like, highly educated, high power people. Someone visitor from Africa had started talking about the prodigal son, and everyone just looked at him, said, and literally didn't understand what that meant. And I think once that kind of religious literacy starts to fall, then a lot of the things around it start to collapse as well, especially with classical music. It's so hard to really understand the history of classical music without the religious influence. Now, I know that starts to decline over time, but it really is the sort of foundation. Similarly with art, it's, you know, we had, we discussed Caravaggio, and it's impossible to understand Caravaggio without the importance of religion. So I think that is a kind of fundamental aspect of it. But I suppose in a kind of post-religious age, certain aspects of the civilization will remain, but they will evolve into something different. I mean, I almost wonder if, Western society now is so different to what it was 70 years ago in its moral values. It's arguably almost more different than that era was to the medieval period. Those were recognizably the same civilization. And now we're
Mm.
into something sort of different. And once civilization has changed, so many of the things from the past civilization will just be forgotten. I mean, they won't literally be lost. Like, probably 99% of the writing in antiquity was literally lost because there just wasn't technology to keep it. It was just fell to pieces. Um, a lot of the aspects of the old civilization will still be there. They'll still be an archive somewhere, and they'll still be on the internet, but just no one will read them. No one will listen to them in many cases. So it's not the same kind of collapse, but it's similar.